Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Hello. Let me say the way those old people say hello, hello, hello. All right, welcome to Chilling with the Tonitos. And
for those of you that don't know my husband, this is my husband. And those of you that do not know him well, you would learn a few things on this live session. And one of those things you will learn is too much information. My husband can share. He can share. And that's what those of you who don't know him will know.
That's how they tell you talk too much, you know?
Well, not necessarily, not really, but yeah, likes to share. It's a good thing. It's a good thing because,
But they don't like it.
Well...
All right, so the big question is, what exactly is Chilling with the Tonitos? What is this all about? As believers, that's the identity we resonate with, and I believe for those of you who know us a bit, that's what you can testify. You can tell this one's a churchgoers, a Christians, a children of God, and for me and for us personally, it's not necessarily about church going, but it's about being true reflection of Christ. And so what that means for us is we want to be people who live life that one can see and say, indeed, this is a Christ-like life. These people are Christians. These are believers. This is how a child of God should be or behave or portray themselves in every phase of life, beg your pardon. And so, Chilling with the Tonitos, it's a conversation. And I think maybe Lydia will share with us what really gave birth to us deciding to take this online, okay?
Okay, so before we go on, we're live on Facebook as well. To join on Facebook, you have to follow Tonitos Samuel. So we're live on his page, and then live on my Instagram. So the essence of all of this is, sometimes we wake up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., and maybe to pray, of course, and sometimes you just don't feel like sleeping anymore, or you've had enough sleep. And then I'm someone who likes to talk, and I like to talk to people who I know, all right, if that makes sense. So I love to talk to my husband. I love to hear his voice, all right. So I might wake up 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh, are you awake? This crossed my mind. And my husband is like, I need to sleep. I'm like, yeah, I know, but if we wait till 6 a.m. or in the morning or daylight, I might lose these thoughts. All right. So I love to talk to him. I love to hear his voice. And that's what gets this Chilling with the Tonitos. The whole idea came like, okay, so these conversations we have in the middle of the night, these conversations we have at the early hours of the day, don't you think it's something we can, share with the world, share with you guys?
Okay.
All right. So that was how it all started. Like, we cannot just continue to have these deep conversations by ourselves. Let's make this a thing. Let's come out. Let's have these conversations on social media, Instagram, Facebook. So like I said, we're also live on
Facebook.
But I'd like to thank everyone who has joined so far. Pastor Richard, you are always that person that is, standing behind us and cheering us on. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Emilia, thank you. I've known Emilia for a few months. I haven't met her, but she's somebody I know. Thank you so much. Thank you, Romoke. Thank you, Kenny. I see Kenny also joined.
Thank you, Emilia. Thank you, Romoke. And thank you, Kenny, as well. And thank you for all those joining. All right, Lydia did say something now about those conversations we have at the middle of the night. Now, so it's not like because, we want to become superstars. That's why we decided to come online.
Sharing.
Or sharing. So it's for
so
us.
So much information.
No.
We all know. See.
Wait now, just calm down. So at the end of the day, because in those conversations, we learn from it, okay? So we learn from it. And so we've sat in spots where we ask, do these people talk to themselves? And because you see characters, you see behaviors of people, and you wonder, do these couples have conversations? Do they talk to themselves? And it might surprise you, some do and some don't. And so we try to encourage people to have conversations. So what we learn to do personally and collectively is we try to have a reflection of what our day was like, okay? How we behaved. So we could be in a public place with other people, and we could have played out a couple of characters, some behaviors that do not in any way align with the type of character God expects of us. And now we get to talk about that. So in the course of defending, oh no, this is why I did it, but is it in line with what God would have wanted us to do? Would we have done better? Yeah. All right. So those are the type of conversations we have at night. Okay. And deep conversation like, okay, what do you think about this? Or what if this is what is going on? How do you handle this? And so we're not here because we think we know it all. So it's a platform where we think we can create an atmosphere to allow every other person join in on the conversation, and we'll learn together. All right. The word is together. We're going to be breeding a culture of good knowledge. Biblical knowledge. I mean, no, the word is not biblical knowledge. Life from a biblical perspective, okay? That gives us a godly standard so that we can have a proper moral compass that is in sync with what God is desiring of us in this time. We are of the opinion that it is one thing to go to church, but it is one thing to apply church to your day-to-day life. Yeah. We've seen people go to church, speak in tongue.
Spirit-filled.
No. Pretend to be spirit-filled.
Having a form of godliness.
But denying the part thereof, So the whole idea is, but how do I align? And one of those conversations we've had is, as a family, is one day we sat down and we're like, sometimes what we go through, life can push you out of character. Life can actually push you out of the alignment of being cultured or being well behaved. So people in our generation, especially with the circumstances of things today and the events and the happenstances of life today, people are reacting and not responding.
Exactly.
And so those are the things that we said, okay, fine. With the little God is teaching us, we might be able to help one or two people out there. We don't know who they are. It could be you joining. It could be you will know somebody who you can invite to say, okay, every Friday there's this young guys who claim to know a few things, but they may be funny or they are boring. Try them out.
We don't know anything.
But we don't know anything. We're trying to learn. But we know that one of the way you learn is you opening just sharing, and people can, bounce back with you.
Rub minds together.
Thank you. That's the word. We're rubbing minds. But at the end of the day, it's about having life, living life to the fullest. And so it's basically going to be centered because we say we're believers. We will talk faith. We will talk finance. We will talk family. We will talk. So it's talk, but it has to have a balance, okay? And there was a conversation I was having with my wife before we started, and I asked her, at what state of mind was Joshua when you woke up in the wilderness and and updated his status, and said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Now remember, they were in the wilderness. They weren't going forward. They were stuck at a position. Life wasn't happening. So she's not answered me. So I wanted to give a start to that.
I don't know what Joshua was thinking. I don't know what Joshua... Truth is, we find ourselves in situations where we question our relationship with God. We question our entire existence because life has hit us hard. So I don't know what Joshua was thinking. Maybe I'll take my time and study that story. I love Bible stories. I love to read Bible stories. When I was much younger, it didn't make sense. But growing up, and as an adult now, you read these stories and then you try to relate them to... So like you said, whatever Joshua was thinking that made him update his status. And the funny thing, now just to digress, I hate it when people, throw their emotions out on social media. For example, somebody has a problem and then they go on their status and they let the entire world know that they have a problem.
Well, somehow we've all done that, but I think as we grow, as we mature, you tend to understand that.
Who is going to help you out there? Truth is, if you have people who do not really care about you, they will view your status, they will see whatever it is you put out there, and that will be a weapon to use against you.
Well,
all right.
So let me try and touch on this Joshua thing, okay? And I think there's a way I think it's related.
Public validation.
Who said that?
Romoke. You remember Romoke, Anish's wife?
One Fanta for you. Just buy yourself a Fanta. When next you see me, I'll pay for it. All right, public validation. And that's what the problem is. We're all seeking out validation. We're all seeking. And because we tend to think people's opinion of us matters. And so that pushes us to want to impress people. That pushes us to want to get people, to curry people's favor or attention on our side. All right. And so keep that word public validation is key. While I try to give a stab, and maybe that will inspire Lydia to share her point, and perhaps you too to give your own stab on what would have led Joshua to say, as for me and my house. Now, Joshua's case, the story of the children of Israel, is not different from the world we live in today. A lot of us, it seems like we've been in the wilderness for a long time. And it seems like we don't even know where we are going. Some of us don't even know our way out. We don't know the next step to take. Yes. For a lot of business people, this is the end of quarter one in our business calendar year. For a lot of people, this is the time we're ending that's the final year of the fiscal year of our businesses. So we're transitioning into a new, but we don't know how to go about it. And this is the time that a lot of people change gods. You know, a lot of people just wake up and say, okay, it's like this church thing, this Christianity thing, this faith thing is not working. Let's try something else, you know. And I believe that was the state Joshua found himself with people around. Remember, he was a leader. He was laden with a responsibility that he didn't choose. He was just privileged to follow a leader, although they had the same goal. The goal was, I believe Joshua too was tired being a slave. All right, so the opportunity to get out of where they were into a better place, and which I believe is the cry of every person, every family. We're looking for a better place, a better life, a better position, better income, better state of living, better status, you know. So now, but in the course of that journey, there was confusion. They became clueless. And because they had a compass that was God had to speak for them to move. And because God is never the author of confusion, once people were not in alignment with the purpose of moving forward, God does not speak. Now, that is also not different from where we are now. Some of us are not having a direction of what next to do because there's no peace within. There's no peace around. And so God isn't speaking, or he's even speaking, you're not listening. You can't even hear him. All right? So, but what happened was Joshua had to boldly update his Facebook status, update his Instagram post, update his story, go to his WhatsApp status and say, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord irrespective of whatever the circumstances is. And I think that's the state a lot of us need to get in, because that's how we're going to shift. That's how we're going to shift and get God's attention into whatever states that we are in. All right? The story is not different from Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Well, so I'd like to just read verse 14 and 15, the Message translation.
Okay.
So now fear God, worship him.
That's Joshua 24, please.
Joshua 24, 14 and 15.
Yeah.
So now fear God, worship him in total commitment. That's the Message version. Get rid of the gods your ancestors worshipped on the far side of the river and in Egypt. You worship God. If you decide that it is a bad thing to worship God, then choose a God you'd rather serve and do it today. Choose one of the gods your ancestors worshipped from the country beyond the river, or one of the gods of the Amorites on whose land you are now living. As for me and my family, we worship God. So for me, I think I tried to browse through the entire chapter. Joshua was telling them how, yes, we crossed the river Jordan. Yes, we had issues along the way. The Amorites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, they attacked us. We had issues. But at this point, it looks like I have to remind you guys again, fear God and worship him. Follow him. Put away the gods you know. Your parents showed you, let's go to Sangoma, or let's go to this. This is the God we worship. But now Joshua was, I think, reaffirming to say
there's a better God.
There is a better way of doing things. There is a God that is higher than every other God. There is a God that created this smaller God. You understand what I mean? So that's what Joshua was trying to say to them. He was just reaffirming to say, Well, if you decide that is for you, it's not good to worship God. Well, that's your business. But you cannot be on the fence. Choose today. And if you remember on Girls Talk at the beginning of the year, I said this year 2022 there will be a clear demarcation between those who are really serving God and those who are not.
Absolutely.
So I think Joshua was just trying to say to them, you have to choose. You cannot be lukewarm. It's either you're hot or you're cold. It's either you're serving God or you're not. It's either you're serving the true living God or you're serving something else. But choose today. And he said, as for me, I've chosen God. My family, we have chosen God. We have decided that we'll follow God. All right.
Awesome. I think if you give a stab at verse 14, because when you read it from this, the message, I liked what you read. From verse 14 it says, now fear God, worship him in total commitment, get rid of the gods your ancestors worshipped on the far side of the river, and in Egypt you worship God, right? Now verse 15 says, if you decide that it is a bad thing to worship God, then choose a God you rather serve. Now, you know why I'm reading that part? I think there was also a particular set of people. So it wasn't about the fact that they were trying to go and choose the old God. Some people live right now in a godless system. Some people have entered a framework where they don't believe
that there's a God.
So they don't serve the living God, they don't also serve the dead
yes.
God. And that is what even our generation. I've met people, I've seen people who I used to know, who we once professed this faith, proclaimed this faith, and today they speak other languages now. And they tell you, I don't believe in this church thing again. I don't go to church again. And my children will not go to church.
There is a difference. There is a difference. When somebody says they don't want to go to church, I don't have a problem with it. But do you have a relationship?
No. It's not I don't want to go. I don't believe. Do you understand? So it's a different thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, because if you don't believe in the church that God created, that Christ came, the essence why Christ came was actually... Yes, fine. It came to reconcile us back to God. But what vehicle was that reconciliation going to happen? On what platform was that reconciliation going to happen? The church was the framework. The church was the framework. The church was the model that Christ was going to use to reconcile us back to God. So that's the reason why the devil is always and will continue to be after the church. So when I hear people say, I don't believe in church again, you're indirectly saying you don't believe exactly the key word there that strikes that makes me
curious get
worried
concerned
is when people say, I no longer believe in church, this church thing, so when we make it this church thing, then there's a problem. So what is key, and the lesson for me is Joshua had to remind them, guy, you can't just decide not to serve God. Okay, if you want to serve the one your father serve, but that you're going to see it aloof
and be on the fence
and serve nothing, then there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem. And a lot of us are getting into that space. And I think for us, that's what we're trying to stir up. Just hang into see, one thing I know, God has never changed. Whatever you read as Bible story, even though it hasn't jumped out to you as a revelation, trust me, that story can happen in real life for you.
Yeah.
Because it's God's word.
Yeah.
And the only thing you need is believe.
Just believe, exactly.
All right?
Exactly. So this session, this is our first session, right? This session is supposed to be a 30-minute session.
And so we're going to run away from you now.
yeah, we have to go now. So this is happening now every Friday at 7 p.m.
South African time?
South African time.
All right.
6 p.m. Nigerian time, West African time rather. So
in closing, what's your point? What
lesson are we taking out of it?
What will be your takeaway point, and what you want us to take home from?
Choose this day who you will serve, because at the end of the day you cannot be lukewarm. The Bible says you are neither cold nor hot, I will spew you out of my mouth. So you cannot say you are just living this life like, oh yeah, I came into existence, my parents just did this and I came into existence, or there was a snap of a finger and I'm here. You were created by God, and it will be better for you to choose God. All right. Yes, we can say Joshua told his guys to say, listen, choose this day if you want to serve God or you want to serve the gods your parents introduced to you. But today, right now, we are saying choose God, because number one, it pays to serve God. All right. And number two, the reason why we're here is to worship God. We are created to worship. So we had some new people join. People, I don't know.
I see Mr. CEO.
Yes, Mr. CEO joined. Thank you. Tinu, hi. Block Suave, thank you for joining in. Indie Nandi, thank you for joining in. Mr. CEO, Lord Afar. I think Lord Afar followed me. He said he likes this. Thank you, Moyo. Hi, Moyo. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you, guys.
Our first chilling with the Tonitos, and hopefully next week Friday, God willing, we'll be here. All
right. So before she does the closing, my takeaway or my nugget for us today is, irrespective of whatever circumstances you are as an individual or your family is, just know that God's got your back. There is no power, there is no supernatural force that can supersede the power of God. God's got your back. Just hang in there and stay in there. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Have a wonderful evening.
So we'll meet again next week on Chilling with the Tonitos.
Bye.
Have a great evening. Bye.
Bye.